Hello and welcome back to the channel. It is another day, another meeting. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for commenting, liking, and foremost of all, thank you to the sponsors. These videos are for you, really. Today, a fairly short video. I have been told that in, we hope, momentary lapse of sanity, I have promised at some point to discuss the datable characteristics of artillery aboard ships. So, today that's what we will do. And luckily for us, we do have a couple of, well, actually 3 cannon here on the gunboat Philadelphia, which more or less will do the job. Alternatively, of course, there are numerous pictures out there, recordings, drawings, etc. What nautical archaeologist does not like to find cannon? Of course we do. That is really how we discovered the Haus de Kroum in Tobago. It was the guns that we saw, not the rest. Everything else was completely covered. Had turned into a reef, the timbers had not survived, but the guns were still there. And in some instances, they were still in the proper orientation and the proper groupings, which helped us identify which part of the vessel it is. But seeing the guns from close on, we knew that this is an early wreck. I couldn't pinpoint it down to an year or even a decade, but I could come close to half a century or so. How can you do this? It is fairly simple process, actually. If you look here at this gun, in Philadelphia, there are a couple of characteristics that immediately tell me that this is anachronistic with the boat. The Philadelphia was constructed in 1676. It was part of Aron's campaign, probably the foremost and most capable general that we had during the American Revolutionary War. I can hear the patriots sharpening their knives for my throat, but that is the truth. Anyway, returning to the gun, it is quite clear that these guns were a mixed batch, because although the boat is late 18th century, the guns are likely from as early as the 17th century. How do I know this? There are a couple of characteristics that are dead giveaways. First and foremost, look at the trunnions. The trunnions of the gun are under the center line of the gun. They are anywhere from not quite even with the lower edge of the gun, but perhaps 1/3 from the bottom up. That changes around the 1740s. And it had something to do with how the guns were hung in the gun carriages earlier, to lift them and to be able to point them. It had also, the change, however, had something to do with the fact that the newer version, when the trunnions were moved to the center line of the gun, had 2 major advantages. First of all, they were stronger and harder to knock off or to break loose during the firing. Second, it allowed better balancing of the gun, of course. But the older system existed from certainly the 16th, throughout the 17th century, and in the early years of the 18th century. As I said, this is not a specific, this is not radioactive carbon-14 that can give you close dates, definitely not dendrochronology, which after all can give you a date down to the month if you're lucky. In parentheses, I should add that I've never been that lucky. But the point is that you can develop at least an approximate idea of the dating. The second, and perhaps even more typical, well, equally typical characteristic is look at the cascabel of the gun. If it is flat or nearly flat, this is an early gun, no question about it. The flatter, the earlier. On Vasa, they are almost straight lines. We have cannon from the Spanish Armada that are flat. We have some from the later 15th century. There are a couple of bombarders. There the system is different because they are differently attached to the carriages and because they essentially are loaded from the back with chambers. But cannon from the 16th century, we have from Medeiros, we have from Mars, we have from the Spanish Armada. We have quite a significant collection of artillery, and all of them are with nearly flat cascable. There still is the button. Of course, I'll try to leave the gun so that the camera can see it. So the button of the gun, the end of it can vary in shape. However, the flat cascable you can see. This begins to round up, and gradually over the centuries, from absolutely flat, it begins to shape, moving towards the semicircle, or rather hemispherical. By the time of the American Revolutionary War, certainly with the Bloomington pattern, certainly by the French Revolutionary War, we have very nearly hemispherical cascable of the gun. That is always late. And from the Revolutionary War onwards, that is to say French Revolutionary War onwards, we also begin to see flintlocks on the cannon. The flintlock had advantages over the fuse. It was more reliable to fire, but also was weaker. They were dismountable, they were mounted before battle, they could easily be damaged, they could misfire, the flint may go astray. So careful captains, like for example Jack Aubrey, the perfectly historical Jack Aubrey, he always preferred to have also the old-fashioned way for firing the guns. This is definitely the bow chaser on the carriage is definitely a later period. You can see that the breech of the gun is much more rounded. It is no longer quite so flat. It is not yet completely hemispherical, obviously, but it has already changed. The trunnions are just about the center line of the gun, which also indicates that it is mid to second half of the 18th century. Again, I repeat, you cannot date them down to a year unless you are fortunate enough to have the year actually cast on the gun. Usually with cast iron guns like these, you're not going to see this. There are going to be figures at the end, right here on the rim of the guns. There would be some figures, but they are giving you the weight of the gun. Not the caliber, mind you, but the weight of the gun. They usually are inscribed in Latin alphabet with Latin figures, which essentially are letters. There are some occasions when you're going to see the poundage. For example, recently with Professor Rönnby, we were looking at Swedish warship that sank in the 1670s in a fight against the United Dutch and Danish fleet. And there, one of the guns on the middle deck had 18 carved on the breech. That in that instance, this actually meant the poundage rather than the weight of the gun. Usually on English guns, however, you're going to have the weight of the gun. Very rarely, if you're truly lucky, and if you have a beautiful old-fashioned bronze gun, besides the coat of arms that you're likely to see and other decorative pieces, you may also see an inscription, usually in Latin, of who cast the gun, where it was cast, and what year. These are the absolute treasures. When I was working in Trinidad and Tobago, I have seen such a gun from the 17th century, from 1643, right at the tail end of it's shortly after the death of the great Armand Duplessis du Richelieu, and the tail end, the last year really, of the reign of King Louis XIII. I have no doubt that the gun was French because of the decoration, but these are the rare instances. There are sometimes there can be some differences in really the button, the very end of the cascable on a gun. In the 17th century, especially in the earlier part, you have some that look essentially like a handle, and either dolphin or some other mythical or not so mythical animal can be displayed. The Vasa cannon, all of them are of this type. But by far more probable is to find simply the protrusion. And of course, they also change in shape, and depends whether it is cast iron gun. Cast iron guns are much simpler in shape and decoration, rarely have, if ever, have decorations, because obviously they're less malleable than bronze. I think I have addressed the difference between bronze and cast iron guns and the advantages and disadvantages. If I haven't, and if you're interested, we can talk about it some other time. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a most wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, huge thank you to the sponsors. And I hope you will head over to look and to watch the sister channel and the continued construction of this pancake dish. I wish you all the best for the rest of your day. Goodbye.